Now, we have this website. I just want to explain to you how to use the website. So the website now, we incorporated the 2025 private access. So the private access, now we do incorporate the part which is together with the video. So you go to the part that is today's topic. We are supposed to go to today's topic. And this particular today's topic is on law relating to property, land acquisition, and TCPA. Okay, so this part. Up already. So let's say go to video, then go to the private access, then come to the law relating to property under amalgamation. So under the law relating to property, the new topic today, land acquisition, TCPA, amalgamation, subdivision, and partition. The slide is already here. The video we are recording now. So today is 12th of April. Correct or not? Today is 12th of April, 2025. The topic is on land relating to property, lesson 2. Lesson 2, law relating to property, lesson 2, we concentrate on the 3 areas. So let me open up for the Google slide. We go to Google slide. Under Google slide, we have the topic. This one. Okay. So under this one, I will blow it out as a slideshow. Okay, so the Land Acquisition Act is here. We have the Land Acquisition Act. This is my copy when I study for the part 2 2013 copy. I don't think there is much changes. After all, this law has been around since 1960. 1960. So Land Acquisition Act is 1960, and the Town and Country Planning is actually 1971. Or 1976, Town and Country Planning is 1976 or 71, I cannot remember. So somehow it tells you that the land acquisition, the law has existed long ago. The reason is for the country to do infrastructure, the country must have a way to take land from private ownership to do planning. So the land acquisition law should be a law which allowed the government to do their planning, to do infrastructure planning. Of course, if you imagine a government where need to do a highway, so if the highway were to cut through certain private land, then the government must have the law to allow the government to do the highway. So those land that is affected will be compensated. So the purpose of the acquisition is for public purpose, to build highway in this case. So therefore, land acquisition as a law actually should have started together with the land court. That means individual land court would have to incorporate the land acquisition law so that it allows the government to do infrastructure building with the purpose of helping the general public to give the service of infrastructure for the public purpose. Also, that is the opening, the behind story, the background story for land acquisition. Now, part 2 for estate agent, why are we dealing with land acquisition? We are dealing with land acquisition. Mainly, there are 2 types of person, 2 types of people that is handling the land acquisition. One is, of course, the land owner requires value when they need a value for the compensation. Therefore, the profession that handles the value is the valuer. So the main law that actually the job that requires the job purpose is actually the valuer. So the valuer is the one that actually do a lot of reading onto land acquisition, because they are the people who gives the value for compensation. The other types of people who are doing land acquisition thing is the town planner. And the government need to do planning. So when they do town planning, then town planners, as for purpose of long-term development for the government's infrastructure, would also need to know a lot about land acquisition law. So these are the two. Of course, the lawyer will be the one that helps the landowner if in case you fight the case in the court, go to the court to fight for the case, then the lawyers will be involved. Generally, when a person say his land is under acquisition, the first person he must know to contact is not the lawyer. The first person to contact is the valuer. Why? Because the valuer would advise the value for him to get compensated. Government has the right for compensating you and the right to take the land for public purpose. But later, as we go in, we will understand that actually land acquisition not just for purpose of infrastructure building or public purpose. Land acquisition can affect area of private development as well. So later on we will see, because there are also issues that they will acquire land for building of certain types of township. Then because of that township requiring the access road. Also when the township is accessing, you need to access the internal area, then you need to access. Therefore, when you need the road access, the road access is actually also part of the acquisition. So it may be because of the in the way in the internal interior development is done by a private firm, private company. Then the interior entrance need to widen the road access. Then the government say, okay, they allow the company to acquire the land for purpose of right of access. So that can be another way of land acquisition. So land acquisition in the case of estate agency work is that when you handle a plot of land that's supposed to be acquired by government, that means a bigger plot of land, and you have acquisition going on because the government is going to do a highway through the land. So as an estate agent, we require to know what is the law that affects this part, and therefore if we handle a transaction, so the buyer want to buy, but then the buyer will ask, is this land under acquisition? The answer will be, yes, there is an acquisition that is going to happen with this land. So how is this transfer, ownership transfer from seller to the buyer? So there are situations that you may advise the buyer, or situation that you need to advise the seller when the seller's land is under acquisition. You may be an estate agent representing a buyer also. So when you represent a buyer acquiring a land which is under acquisition, then what are the things that you need to tell the buyer? How do you advise the buyer that you are buying a land which is under acquisition? So that is the knowledge that you need to have as an estate agent to advise. Also, normally we do not normally do land under acquisition. Although you can sell and you can buy property, land included, that is under acquisition. It doesn't stop you from transacting. But then the transacting of this type of land, which is under acquisition, may need approval, and there are issues involved. So that is the limit of an estate agent to advise. But usually we are not lawyer. We do not over-promise our customer. We cannot over-promise our customer. We are not valuer. So when there is a compensation, we would not be able to tell how much is the likely compensation. The likely compensation. So for example, the land, 20% will be given back to government. So the buyer will say that, well, if I were to buy this piece of land, the 20% will be a loss to me because the land is not mine. It is government's land. In the future, it becomes government's land. So how much is the government going to compensate me for the 20% that I'm going to lose to the government? Then the seller will say, yes, it will be good because of the road coming through. Therefore, this land has got higher value, higher potential of development. And therefore, you buy at this price now. Next time, you will be selling at a higher price because your property will be accessible to highway. Then you would think that it is a good investment to buy this land because at the end, you are waiting for the acquisition to take place. And when the acquisition takes place, you got to give away 20%. Some of this calculation would be the way the buyer will negotiate with the seller. The buyer will negotiate. That 20% will be compensated. Yes, but if the compensation is going to be XXYZ amount, then I'm not going to buy your land because it will be very little compensation. So I buy your land should be cheaper than the compensated price. I buy from you 20 ringgit per unit. Then when the government compensate me more than 20 ringgit, then only it is worth. If I were to buy from you 30 ringgit per unit, then later the government compensate me only 20 ringgit per unit. Then therefore I lose 10 ringgit per unit. I don't want to lose, right? I don't want to lose, so I want to negotiate based on common sense. You will want to buy a cheaper price, and then when the government compensate you, you have a better compensation, right? You cannot be buying expensive and then the government compensate you very little, right? So that is the issue when it comes to negotiating a plot of land that the seller is expecting a land acquisition, but the buyer side don't want to pay so much because it will be paying less than the 100% of the land, because part of the land will be compensated by the government and taken by the government. So these are things that as an estate agent you need to know. Then second part of it, today we are going in is the town and country planning part, which will talk about development charge, we will talk about purchase notice, we will talk about area where, let's say you have a plot of land and then you ask for development. However, when you put in your development plan, the government say, I'm not going to approve you. I don't want to approve you because we are taking over certain part of your land for public use. So let's say example, you have a plot of land and the 20% will be taken by the government for building school. So the government will say, okay, the remaining 80% we cannot approve you because we don't know where exactly this 20% that we're going to cut from you is from where. So we cannot determine how is the school going to enter into your, encroach into your area. So public use is school, road system, hospital, these are public use. So if your land is next to a project, government project, building a hospital, building a school, then the government will say that I cannot approve your application. I cannot approve because I don't know how much of land I will require from you. Because my hospital, my school that I'm going to build is going to enter to your land. So if I were to approve your plan to develop, then eventually if I encroach into your area, I will be doing double job. You cannot build.